mostly welcome fellow Toastmasters, guests that are here, and viewers at home. I'd like to welcome you to our Fall Area 92 contest. I'm going to get right into it by introducing our contest master for this year, Don Wallage. Don?
Thank you and welcome everybody. This is going to be a good fun evening. I'm looking forward to, did someone make sure that they brought in some of that adhesive, that elastic bandage?
You mean duct tape?
No, I mean the elastic bandage.
You're gonna break somebody's
In case
arm?
in case somebody needs to hold their split sides together.
Yes.
You know, that fell flat. It's a fall contest, you're gonna fall. Okay. Good afternoon, evening, whatever this is that true? Okay. It's great to be here. I'm excited, and I'm sure you are excited too. I'd love to welcome all the international and district officials that are here tonight. Would you all please stand up? Yeah, that's about what I thought. They're all here. Okay. The first thing on our agenda tonight, if you look at your agenda, and I wish I had one, that would help a lot if I had one. That's okay, I'll Rhonda to the rescue again. Okay, our first contest is the evaluation contest. And we have a test speaker for that event. I have to do something before we introduce the speaker. Excuse me just a moment. There's some people in here. Anybody? Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Hi, my name is Hiram Armbruster, and I am going to be introducing your target speaker for this evening. And I wish I knew this fellow. Well, I do know this fellow. He's been the bane of my existence for the last many, many years. I was healthy before I met Homeland Security Agent Smith. Agent Smith. Oh, it says here that I hate Agent Smith. That is very true. I am one of those people who, I would rather not talk about it if you don't mind. Oh, he is going to come and he's going to talk to us about something in Guantanamo humorous speech contest where, well, I have very vague memories of that event. I really wish I didn't. I really hate Agent Smith. Can you tell if I really... Let me tell you how much I hate Agent Smith. Oh, you already know. I'm sorry. Agent Smith, Mr. Ed Hip is the name he's using these days. But he's been a member of Golden Speakers for 5 years, it says here.
Wow.
No, it's got to be longer than that. No, it's got to be longer. He has won 2 state championships in humorous speaking. I don't think that was Mr. Agent Smith. It might have been Mr. Ed Hip that did that. All I remember is that he was trying to force me to learn something about the rules of humor, and that wasn't good. And this Agent Smith, we've got to do away with him. I mean, we've got to do away with Agent Smith. He said that he has conducted classes in humor. I've seen his classes. I hate Agent Smith. He became one of the world's leading experts on analytical humor. It's really nice that some people have a rich fantasy life. I'm sure glad that he has such a fantasy life. Anyway, since we have the time, we might as well get just to this. Ed's speech tonight, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Agent Smith, alias Ed Hip.
Yo! So I would like to address that issue. Welcome to everybody. I hope we have guests in the house because it's going to be a lot of fun. We won't have seen something like this before. As chief judge of this contest, I confirm that we have wildly unbalanced judging staff, most of which comes from Fairfield. But we do have representatives on the judging team from other clubs. So we have some degree of balance. The judges and the timers and the ballot counters have been briefed, and they are fully aware of their responsibilities to the degree that I can determine that. In addition, the contestants and the sergeant at arms have met for a briefing regarding the rules and procedures of this evaluation contest. The evaluation will be evaluating what Agent Smith, aka Ed Hip, does. I would like to ask the chief timer now to please review the timing procedure for the evaluation contest and do a final check of the timing lights.
My name's Seth, I'm the chief timer. This is Karen, she is the assistant chief timer. She's the behind the scenes chief timer. First we'll test the timing lights. The green light, yellow light, the amber light, excuse me, now let's call it yellow, and the red light. Humorous speeches shall be from 5 to 7 minutes. The contestant will be disqualified if the speech is less than 4 minutes 30 seconds or more than 7 minutes 30 seconds. A green signal will be displayed at 5 minutes and remain on for 1 minute. A yellow signal will be displayed at 6 minutes, remain displayed for 1 minute. A red signal will be displayed at 7 minutes and remain on to the conclusion of the speech. The speaker has 30 seconds before they are disqualified.
Read the evaluation.
Evaluation.
Oh yeah, that's where we're at, sorry. Just in time.
Humor is going to be liberally sprinkled throughout this whole procedure.
Yes! Just, thank you for that. The evaluation contest speeches shall be concluded 3 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified if the speech is less than 1 minute 30 seconds or more than 3 minutes 30 seconds. The green signal will be displayed at 2 minutes, remain displayed for 30 seconds. The yellow signal will be displayed at 2 minutes and 30 seconds and remain displayed for 30 seconds. The red signal will be displayed at 3 minutes and remain displayed until the evaluation is concluded.
Mr. Timer, is the target speaker timed?
Yes. The target speaker is a 5 to 7 minute speech. Fortunately, the same rules apply as was announced for the humorous speech. If you'd like me to read them again, I'd be happy to.
Nice cover. You have any backup?
In case of a light failure, we will obtain the backup, which is in the
Colored paper.
We'll have the colored paper from the back room.
Yay!
Are you really going to disqualify him if he goes over?
The target speaker?
Yeah.
He will be pummeled if he goes over. Physically harmed.
We have wet noodles ready to do it with too, don't we? Okay, we're getting the light back up to it. So while we're doing that, these devices that produce noise of some kind, everyone please double check that it is in a silent mode right now.
This is a backup timer. This is the-
Okay. So as Chief Judge, I remind everyone in the room, if it's necessary to do so, leave only during the 1 minute judging periods. The Sergeant at Arms will allow re-entry during subsequent 1 minute periods. In addition, please maintain silence during those 1 minute periods while the judges deliberate and mark their ballots. If anyone did not do their cell phone, do it now. We want no disturbances during the contest, and certainly not while Agent Smith, aka Ed, is speaking. That could be dangerous. Protests regarding originality or eligibility. If there were any of those, they're limited to be the contestants or the judges themselves to raise the issues, and they take it to the contest chair, Mr. Don Wadley, or to me, prior to the announcement of winners. For this particular evaluation contest, the contest chair will explain the procedure further if there's anything further to explain.
Thank you.
We'll start off with the target speech. At the conclusion of the target speech, no, we'll go through it this way, right? The evaluators will be given 5 minutes to put their notes together. They will be escorted out of the room and take care of their 5 minutes there, during which time we will interview Agent Smith, as much as I hate to. And we're going to, then at the end of 5 minutes, evaluator number 1 will be brought in and will be given 2 to 3 minutes, as Seth explained, to give their evaluation. At the end of that time, there will be 1 minute for the judges to mark their ballots. And we'll call on the second evaluator. I should announce at this point that evaluator number 1 is Gene Symington. You're not Gene Symington. I thought all this time you were Gene Symington Craig.
I am Gene Symington Craig.
I am Gene Symington Craig.
All right, I'm the real Gene.
Bert Chanowski will be number 1, and Gene Symington Craig will be number 2. Yay! Somehow or other, Mr. Armbruster is not all there. Have we noticed that? Yes, we have noticed that. So, with that as background, it's now my distinct displeasure to introduce Agent Smith. Agent Smith.
Yes, tonight I am your target speaker. Give me your best shot. Come on, give me your best shot. Contrary to what some of you might think, that was humor. Specifically, the wordplay form of humor known as a pun. Boo. I know many of you think that a pun, along with the knock-knock joke, is one of the bottom feeders in the funny farm. Not even worth being amused by. In fact, how many of you have been in some group where someone innocently offered a pun or a knock-knock joke, and somebody, maybe even you, groaned? Oh. Well, that's why I'm here tonight. Because in addition to being the evaluator target speaker, I consider myself to be the warm-up act for our humorous speakers tonight. Yay! Why? Because it takes 2 to tango. Yes, our speakers will be offering their most comic stylings, but we have an obligation as the audience too, to be open and receptive, to lay a fertile ground that will bring out the best from our speakers. In my 5 years of analyzing humor, since I first entered one of these contests, what I found is that not everyone always is open to receiving humor. Which to me is sad, because humor is beautiful. It heals the body. It reshapes the neural passageways. It connects people with each other. It enlivens the heart. Even if a bit of humor is not outrageously funny, it can be pleasantly diverting, at least. That's why I'm here tonight is to enroll everyone in being really open to humor. I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me as a humorous speaker that really drove this point home to me. After I developed the rules of humor speech, I gave it many times, even after state championship. I was asked to drive 2 hours and give this speech at a meeting. I drove, put on my costume, started giving my speech, and about 2 minutes into the speech, I thought, whoa, did I walk into a group root canal or something? People were sitting there like, I dare you to make me crack a smile. Everybody in the room, and there's 40 people, except, thank God, one 8-year-old kid that was sitting right there on the front row. He's on the edge of his seat the whole time, smiling the whole time, laughing at some of those jokes. Now, I know some of those jokes were going over his head. In fact, like they went over most of you guys' heads. But he was laughing anyway. I ended up giving my whole speech to him, which was fortunate for me that I had him, because elsewise I would have stopped halfway through and I would have said, wait, you guys want me to finish this speech? Or can I pass out some Rolaids and Pepto-Bismol?
Yeah.
So why is it that people don't be open to humor? I've done a lot of thinking about it. I think one of the primary reasons, and there are a few, but I'll cover one tonight, is that everybody thinks all humor should be great. It's like you went to the NBA slam dunk contest and watched LeBron James throw one down, and then you went to your kid's basketball camp, your 8-year-old kid, and you were expecting the same thing. It's not going to happen. I tell my humor classes, you have to be willing to fail with a joke. You have to be willing to tell a bad joke. If you're not, you will never get started. If Jim Carrey walked in here right now with a $1,000 bill and handed one out to everybody, we'd all be great! Yay! Wonderful! Some of our humorists tonight are at least going to be having some $100 bills to pass out to us. Are we going to show our appreciation for that? Even my $1 pun is worth some acknowledgement. One of the things I'm most proud of that my kids have ever said to me, as they said one time, Dad, we know that if we're late to the theater and we don't know where you are, all we have to do is stand in the back and listen for your laugh and follow that to you. And I have found that there are worse things in the world than being locatable in this universe by one's laughter. Being locatable by one's BO is one of those worst things. So, I'm going to warn you tonight that yes, we have judges that will be judging our speakers tonight. But we as an audience are also going to be evaluated. How, you may ask? By the laugh tracker. This proprietary circuitry that I have embedded in this device, which will measure the amusement vibrations that are emanating from this room to the rest of the world. Let's get it calibrated for a minute. Let me turn it on back here, make sure it's working. Okay, now, everybody laugh. I said laugh, damn it! Come on! Stop. Okay. Now, to make sure that you know that this isn't just measuring decibel levels, it's actually measuring the vibrations of happiness and joy. I want everybody to smile in your heart right now. Just have a smile in your heart. Think of that first bicycle you got when you were a kid. Everybody feeling that? Think of your first wife. No, think of your current wife. Sorry. Okay, now we've got the machine calibrated. We are at a 3 level of amusement vibrations. Now, when our speakers come tonight, you will laugh. Or at least you will smile in your heart. And if that doesn't come naturally, you can do like my wife does. Fake it. Because if you don't, I'll be back.
the Sergeant at Arms now escort the contestants from the room? Okay. Timers are set with 5 minutes.
Not yet, not until she
Yes.
comes back.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
She's not.
Okay.
All right.
5 minutes.
Ed, you shall not run away. That is an order from Mr. Armbruster.
Very good.
I don't know how long I've known Ed. Way too long. And but it's been fun. I didn't see your first championship speech. I did see the second. And I was there the time that, those of you who remember his second speech where he had his whip,
Yes.
your whip,
Writing crap.
your writing crap.
My writing crap.
I'm not talking about your physical functions. His stick, he had, you remember when he went whack to the thing? Well, there was one time when that didn't go quite right. And it spun out of control, totally out of control. I had to duck. You remember that?
I do. I had forgotten to take my riding crop to that speech, and so I had to stop into a hardware store just before and find a little dowel rod. So I had this dowel rod. I thought this will work. I inked it out in black, and I slapped it, and the thing splittered to about 5 pieces, and about 5 people had to duck. It's a cheap way of getting people's attention.
What brought you into that character or into this whole business?
Well, I've told this story a number of times, but some of you may not have heard
I've
of
never
it,
heard.
and the rest of you will be stuck with it anyway.
Oh, okay.
I was sitting in this room, having been a member of Toast Golden Speakers for a few months, 2-3 months, and the humor speech contest was announced, and I noticed nobody put up their hands. Nobody wanted to do it. And it's been my experience since then that this is the hard one to get people to do because nobody thinks that they have any humor. Pity, most people are right. But we have to try anyway. So I raised my hand, I went home and Googled humor techniques, comedy techniques. And stuff streamed up. I could have spent a week reading those various things. So I distilled that there were a few principal techniques, out of which I got, one of the first ones was opposites, colliding opposites. So I started thinking, and then another one was make your speech about the group that you're talking to. So I talked about Toastmasters, what would be opposite of that? Got Homeland Security. So then for my next speech, a while later, I learned so much from studying analytically humor that I'll make a speech about analytical study of humor, and that was the rules of humor. So I got it from the same place that all of you, that you've gotten coming to Toastmasters, or deciding to join, or saying I'm punching in the computer that I would like to have a speech on a certain day. Most of us don't feel truly confident to do that when we say we will, but we do anyway. And then you start filling in the gaps of what you don't know in order to do it. That's what got me there.
One thing about Ed, and I've noticed this about other good humor speakers too, is that they develop a talent to listen to the audience and become part of the audience. You know what I mean here? Where you're talking about that I'm going to make this point and somebody is going to laugh, and that 8-year-old boy becomes you and your audience. This is one of the things I think a lot of people miss when they're giving humor speeches. It's not easy. It is not easy to give a humor speech. It's one hell of a lot of fun, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. And so,
Well, everybody knows when you get up to give a speech, you're kind of scanning the audience, looking for who's a supportive being in that audience. It's true for all the speeches you give. Now, I think there's probably some really hardcore, awesome speakers who don't have to do that, who can just, you know, do that without doing it. But most of us, I think, are looking for a few faces that are so receptive that we get pulled forward. That's true in all speeches. I think it's more true in humorous speaking for the reason that the response to a humorous speech is more obvious. I could be inspired without really showing it on my face, but I can't be amused without giving some hint of it. So if you're speaking and this audience is giving you nothing that indicates you're going anywhere, all stand-up comedians have talked about this, that it's very hard to keep doing your routine. You have to be a consummate pro to keep doing your routine in the face of a very unresponsive audience. That's why they like to do it in bars. People get so drunk that they do get responsive, whether they know it or not. So my request is that for all of us, not just for the contests, but even when we're talking with people, you know, one of your friends comes up and tells you a joke. If it's not a great joke, that's not the point. The point is, he or she is trying to share with you, trying to brighten your day. Acknowledge them. Give them something. It doesn't have to be a big guffaw, but it can be, oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Are you ready? 2 to 3 minutes. Our first contestant, Bert Chanowski. Bert Chanowski.
Ah! Ah!
That talk almost had me laughing.
Ah!
I was laughing inside. How about you? Didn't you love Ed's poise? Who would have the audacity to come out and put a target on himself? Really let us evaluators really take aim at him? There's like 4 or 5 brilliant things that Ed does when he gives a speech. The first one is the most powerful one. He grabs our attention right away. And the target did that, didn't it, for you? The other thing he does is he changes his volume, his pitch, his vocal variety is absolutely fantastic. He brings us into the story. He tells a story inside the story about the 8-year-old boy. I think that was he was talking about you. And it was just really fantastic of how he kind of blended it all together in terms of making us feel like it was a lot about us. And it's really, we're on the spot in terms of we've got to laugh, not only for the humor speakers, but I'm happy to say that I'm seeing that you're laughing at some of the evaluators as well. And that makes me feel really good. There are a couple of things that I thought Ed could tweak just a tiny little bit to make it a little bit better. One was his hand gestures. They were all pretty good except for don't have a lot of purpose for me. You really need to choreograph and really use your hand gestures a little bit more, I thought. But that's just my opinion. The other thing was, I would like to have had more of a story about this tough situation where he was at this place where people weren't laughing, but the 8-year-old kid were. He could turn this into an example of how he transformed someone, a non-laugher, non-humorist, into someone who really got Parastokian, got puns, and really got the elements of humor. That was one of the other things I was thinking of. The other thing is, when he's making points, I'd like to see him laser in and make eye contact when he's making a point on something. I felt like he was kind of doing it to imaginary 8-year-old over here, but I thought he could have connected with the audience a little bit better. And then finally, the other thing that I thought Ed might do, the timing on the tennis balls was just a little off for me. Other than that, fabulous job! Made me laugh inside. Really was a great warm-up for the night. And I'd like to bestow on Ed tonight honorary membership and our Witzel Soup Society of Fairfield. Witzel Soup, for those of you who don't know, is the addiction to humor, and there's nobody more addicted to humor than Ed. Thank you very much.
Timers, could we have 1 minute on the clock, please? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our next contestant, contestant number 2, Jane Symington Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, and particularly my dear friend Ed Hipp. That was such a funny speech. It really stood up to the Hipp expectations that we all have come to have. The opening, very clever, the target speaker, and then he had action that helped pull all the audience in. I don't know where all those balls were coming from, but they were obviously planted around. I'm going to talk a little bit about his organization, then how he delivered, and then a couple of suggestions for Ed. His organization is the importance of laughter, and I really liked that he was being a team player for the rest of the contest. He's setting up the audience to be a really active and contributing participant for all of the contestants. That really showed class. He talked about the importance of laughter and gave a personal story about how laughter, even the little 8-year-old boy, had really helped him in his moment when everyone else was looking like they were participating in a group root canal. Wasn't that funny? That was really funny. And then his visuals, the laugh tracker, totally creative, totally original, just like Ed. What goes on in his brain, I don't know, but it always comes out really, really interesting. The whole calibration and getting us all tuned in. He finished with a call to action to all of us that we will participate, we will be laughing, or else. He had great gestures, lots of gestures up here, down here, moving around. Vocal variety was outstanding. Lots of louder, softer. He used pauses to emphasize. Just changes in pitch, got excited. It was really well done in terms of the delivery and the gestures. A couple of things I'd suggest. Number one, I did not hear a title to this speech. Maybe I missed that, but a title can be a good tool to set up the audience and tweak with their brain a little bit further. So for example, a title could be, "You will laugh." Just thinking about Agent Smith. What does that mean? And put the V in there. Secondly, one gesture that I thought could be eliminated was the wrapped arms gesture. There were some times it was sort of like this. I don't know, we want to make sure you have gestures that are purposeful, that are adding to the speech. I don't know what this was, but it wasn't about loving myself. So, but everything else was great. And finally, eye contact. I'd like to see, in the midst of all that animation with Ed's face, I'd like to see a little more directed eye contact. I'm really big about that. Zeroing in on the audience members and making sure that they're really with you and following you. Because actually that's what he was doing. He's wanting to make sure we're going to follow and do what he says, which is to laugh. Great speech. Put all those things in there. This is another winner from the Hipp repertoire.
Yo!
Symington Craig. Have a minute of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. Have all the ballots and the timer sheets. They do. At this point, I'd like to get to know our contestants a little bit more. So would Bert and Jean come up for it? Usually on something like this, I would go ladies first. Sorry, it's alphabet first. Okay. Bert, I understand that you have gotten into this business of making people laugh by means of filming, being a filmmaker. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not sure that I've made people laugh by filmmaking, but I'd like to.
What films have you made, or do I dare ask?
I've made quite a few films. I've made Finding Fairfield.
Okay.
It's a short film about people who found Fairfield either in a magazine or on the internet or by word of mouth and moved here, and they tell their magical stories. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. It's Cool Burt, B-U-R-T. Have you seen it? All right, but you're going to see it, right? Anybody seen it? Wow, good. Yeah,
Homework
good
assignment.
Also, I've won a bunch of awards for a documentary film I shot 4 years ago in Nepal, Tibet, in China. It's about the holiest mountain in the world. It's really a sacred place. And people who see that movie really find they experience the darshan of the most powerful place on earth.
It's interesting. I remember a story about Geronimo, and that also has a statement about sacred places in the Indian culture, in the Native American culture. Where the sacred place for each individual is the place where their placenta was buried. Very
You mean they
interesting.
didn't eat it?
No?
Oh.
No, this is the way it is.
Has anybody out here eaten placenta?
No thanks.
Am I the only one? You have? Yeah. It's really good, isn't it? It's like
Jane, it's like, do you want to follow this?
Do I come around and be a little more inclusive?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, come on here. Oh, okay. Jane has a variety of backgrounds, but I think I would like to have her explain to us a little bit about one of her most recent, your most recent experiences with some of the things that are going on down in Fort Madison.
Fort Madison, okay, great. Fort Madison there are two clubs there. One of them is an actual Toastmasters club like this. Another is a gavel club. We actually happen to have Betty Kruger here. I'm delighted to see her. She and her husband have been going down for years. I started going a couple of years ago. There's an actual Toastmasters club there in the men's maximum security prison. So yes, we go through metal detectors, and there are things we can't take, and we have to have certain dress codes and all kinds of things like that. Guards are in the room, but these are the cream of the crop, so I've never been concerned about my own safety. But the club is just phenomenal. You know, if you just want to have a completely, utterly exotic, different experience, and then come back into your own life and feel different, that is what happens there. And that club actually last year achieved President's Distinguished, which is they achieved 9 out of the 10 goals that are set out by Toastmasters International for clubs that are to show levels of competence and accomplishment. They only get to meet twice a month because that's all that the prison is going to let them do. It's quite an experience. So just if you I heard about this club, and people would say you could go down, check it, and there's a lot of good things. And I didn't think that was going to be up there. And then I went down there because I had to, because I was the area governor, and you have to go visit your clubs. And I went there, and I just came back. I mean, my husband, I was having this born again experience. And I just started going. I mean, it was just incredible. Will's been down there. Seth has been there. Tom and Cindy were there at the beginning.
And some of them were even there for the
club started. So it's just but they are so appreciative. The gentlemen that are there, very smart. Obviously made some mistakes, bad mistakes. But it's like, if you ever want to go, we can talk to Betty, get you looped in, because we are looking for volunteers. The clubs cannot meet without an outside person there. So they can't meet on their own, so they really appreciate that we come. I'm going down there on Saturday. It's an hour down, an hour back. It's probably way more than what you want to hear, but it is really, you can tell. I mean, it's an amazing experience. Yeah, so we're their sister club. They always look to us, Golden Speakers, like what's Golden Speakers doing? And they want to, try to at least match what we're doing, and so it's really cool.
Very good.
Don, I was in prison once.
I don't think I want to go there. It's got to do something with placentas. I think I got to come up with something else. Do I dare ask?
You could.
I don't. Okay.
I was in San Quentin prison. Anybody ever been there? I was there. True story, was there. Made a lifelong friend of mine there. My buddy, while I was in prison, was a guy you probably heard of, Carlos Santana. We were both there. We were visiting. We weren't in prison. But we were both visiting there to give a talk on meditation together. And that was just really cool. So I got a lifelong friend that I met in prison. So how many people can say that?
Yeah.
You can say
no,
a
I
few.
can say that, yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Don't
is
steal my car.
everybody in
Just
there.
don't
You have
steal
to.
my car,
You have to
because-
murder somebody to get into that prison. You just don't just let anybody in.
Okay. Well, thank
Aren't
you
you
both.
glad you asked?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
okay,
Thank you
thank you.
both very much. Appreciate that. Good. Nobody laughs at that?
Ha!
We're just getting, we haven't had enough fun yet? Okay, we're now going into the humorous contest, speech contest. And for this contest, everybody can stay in the room, nobody has to go out. But if you do have to make a trip out, please do it during that 1 minute of silence between speeches. We want during the speech. The only discomfort you're allowed is split sides from laughing. You got that?
Yep.
Everything else, no. You gotta do, just laugh, okay? Earlier, the contestants drew lots to determine who is first. And so for the judge's benefit, number 1 is Bert Chanowski. That's BURTCHOJNOWSKI. The second contestant is Rick Starr. That's with 2 R's. Rick, S-T-A-R-R. With 2 R's at the end, not at the front. Okay, you got that?
Ha!
All right. Our third contestant is Alex Cigar. Scratch that. Alex Sikea. C-I-Q-U-E-A. Just like it sounds.
C-E.
C-E. Q-U. Yeah, like I said, just like it sounds.
Ha! Ha! Ha!
And our fourth contestant is Sean Johnson. That's S-H-A-W-N. Johnson, the classic spelling. O-N. Okay. Are we all ready?
Yes.
Chief Judge's statement.
Chief Judge's statement. Yes.
Yo!
My name's Art Atkinson. I'm still the Chief Judge, and I will now repeat myself.
Ha!
We have wildly unbalanced but good objective judging tonight. The judges, timers, and ballot counters have been briefed, and they're fully aware of their responsibilities. The contestants, Sergeant at Arms, have all met for briefing regarding the rules and procedures of this contest, which are simple. I'd like the Chief Timer to please once again review the timing procedure for the humorous contest only.
Heck yeah!
Hey, hey, hey!
Let's do it. Woo! You might want to note, contestants, that timing begins with your first definite verbal or nonverbal communication with the audience. It's usually the first word uttered by the contestant, but would include any other communication such as sound effects, a stage act by another person, etc. Humorous speeches shall be from 5 to 7 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified if the speech is less than 4 minutes, 30 seconds, or more than 7 minutes, 30 seconds. A green signal will be displayed at 5 minutes, symbol will remain displayed for 1 minute. A yellow signal will be displayed at 6 minutes and remain displayed for 1 minute. A red signal will be displayed at 7 minutes and will remain on until the conclusion of the speech. You have 30 seconds before you are disqualified. Nothing further. Yes, there's something further. It's very important.
Yay,
In case of
pardon
a
me.
blackout, we will still have flashcards to indicate where you are.
Thank you,
Backup
Assistant
timing.
Chief Timer.
Nothing
Chief Assistant.
Speed listening has now become an essential quality for the Toastmasters. As Chief did, I remind everybody in the room, if it's necessary to leave, please do so only during the 1 minute silent period between contestants. Sergeant at arms will allow re-entry during subsequent 1 minute periods. Additionally, silence during that 1 minute period. Please don't disturb the judges. If you have an electronic equipment that makes a noise and you haven't already silenced it, do it now before it goes off. No pictures taken during the contest, but there will be an opportunity later. Protests regarding originality or eligibility will be limited to the judges, contestants, and made to Don Wadley, contest chairperson, or myself. Back to you.
Yo.
Let the contest begin. Our first contestant is Bert Chanowski. Mud wrestling with Andy. Mud wrestling with Andy, Bert Chanowski.
You're probably wondering what all these people have in common. They were all part of a night of mud wrestling in Ottumwa, Iowa in 1980. Please, everybody, welcome Andy Kaufman. Andy was Latka on the TV show Taxi during the 70s and 80s. There was a movie made about him, The Man on the Moon, starring Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey said Andy was his idol. Jim said, after he saw Andy perform his nightclub act, he said, I gotta go out and build a statue of him. There was me, and the two co-eds, Pam and Vicky. Pam was my current girlfriend, and Vicky was an ex-girlfriend. Aren't they beautiful?
Yo.
Mr. Contest Chair, other Grand Poobahs, Toastmasters, and guests, I'm going to tell you a story about a night long ago where I helped transform Andy into a mild-mannered song and dance man, into one of the greatest wrestling villains the world has ever known. The National Enquirer, the social media at the time, broadcast this message all over the world. Andy told me afterwards, Bert, this was the best night of my life. Here's how it went down. I was working out in the local gym in the basement of the student union. And Andy walks in. I'm going, that's Andy Kaufman. We became acquainted. Andy and I talked a little bit. He found out I was a wrestler. And he says, I challenge you to a wrestling match. I said, this must be a joke. We wrestled. It took me all of 60 seconds to pin Andy, even though he was really strong. But Andy confided in me. He said, you know, I have this desire to become a professional wrestler. Would you teach me some moves? And I said, sure. I can teach you the cradle, the ball and chain, and the chest cruncher. He says, that's perfect, because I want to use these on women. We trained, and then I got up the nerve to ask Andy out on a date. I said, Andy, would you like to go see live mud wrestling in Ottumwa? He goes, yeah, but should we get a date? Some dates? I talked to Pam. She brought Vicky. There we were, driving to Ottumwa. 8 of us packed into a car. It turned out to be a group date. We're on Highway 4 going to Veterans Coliseum in Ottumwa. We get there, it was really incredible. We walk in, there's a pit full of mud. There's red and white and blue bunting around the bottom. Around the top, there's bleachers on the side. They had the matching bunting, except something was wrong. We'd gotten there fashionably late. It was over. I was almost to the point where I was disappointed. Andy pulls out his checkbook and says, I'm going to put up $100 to the winner of the match between the Iowa Farm girls and the Fairfield College girls. And Pam and Vicki would go, okay. So there we were. Andy and I flipped a coin to see who we were going to coach who. I was on one side of the ring. Andy was on the other side of the ring. The girls were in the middle, along with our referee. We hired an 8-year-old boy, rolled up his pant legs. He seemed to know a lot about the international rules of mud wrestling. As soon as that bell went off, we were both yelling our heads off. You know, run, you know, whatever. Wasn't quite sure what to tell them to do, but because they were slipping and sliding, mud was flying everywhere, and that little kid, he was just trying to get out of the way. After a while, it was all over, but we were all still really jazzed. We went out for disco dancing, we went out for pizza, and I'll tell you what, every night was like a birthday when you're with Andy, and this was no exception. We went to the local pizza place, and sure enough, Andy bought me a birthday cake to celebrate my birthday. We sang. As soon as it was over, he bought cake for somebody else. I think it was for Pam. Then one for Vicki. And after a while, everybody had a cake, it seemed like, in the whole restaurant. But we had to get these girls home by 10 o'clock, curfew, right? So we're driving back to Fairfield, and Andy and Pam kind of hooked up. We seemed to have a really good time. Pam volunteered, insisted on sitting on Andy's lap. We got back to Fairfield. The next day, Andy was so excited about wrestling, he went directly to New York to start his wrestling career. And he took Pam with him. Now you're probably thinking, did Pam run off with a man wilder and crazier than Bert? Or did Andy steal his girlfriend? Yes! To both of them! But it wasn't like Pam and I were seriously engaged. I have to admit I was a little jealous. I would have liked to spend more time with Andy.
No!
Andy Kaufman went on to become the greatest villain wrestling has ever seen. He would dance around the ring like I taught him to do. Nobody could touch him because he kept running away. Wearing a t-shirt that said, I love Grandma. He insulted the audience more than he's insulted his opponent. In 1982, he became the intergender wrestling champion of the world. I became the matchmaker for Pam and Andy. And I last saw Andy. He said, Bert, right before he died, he bought me a birthday cake, took me out to dinner, and he said, I want to tell you that was the best night of my life. Thank you very much.
No!
Thank you, Mr. Tymer. Can we have 1 minute of silence, please? Thank you. Our next contestant is Mr. Rick Starr. The Great California Mouse Hunt. The Great California Mouse Hunt, Rick Starr.
There I was, deep in the wilds of Beverly Hills, facing the most dangerous creature on the planet, the mouse. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. My wife Sharon and I were living in sunny Southern California. We were teaching meditation, which both of us love to do. We lived a couple of blocks from the beach in a beautiful area called Pacific Palisades. Life was good. And one day, without warning, our happy life was shattered. Sharon was in the kitchen, I was in another room, when I heard an ear-splitting shriek. I ran into the kitchen. What happened? I saw a mouse. Sharon doesn't like mice. Sharon really doesn't like mice. This mouse had to go. I thought, no problem. I'll get a mouse trap, and that'll be the end of that mouse. Problem solved. Wrong. Sharon explained, as much as she hated mice, she couldn't bear the thought of me killing this mouse. She wanted me to get rid of the mouse without hurting it. There are traps called live traps where you can catch an animal without hurting it. But these traps are for big animals, for raccoons or stray dogs. They're not for little mice. Finally, after a lot of searching, I found a store that sold live traps that could catch little mice. And this store was in of all places, Malibu. And as you probably know, Malibu is an upscale community, beachfront community in California where movie stars live. Now why they sold live mouse traps in Malibu, I don't know. I have no idea. I got the mouse trap, I took it home, we baited it. The next day, we had our mouse. I thought the next step, bring the trap outside, let it go, problem solved. Wrong again. Sharon was very concerned that somehow the mouse would find its way back into our house. So I had to bring the mouse far, far away. Then I had a very clever idea. Let's bring the mouse to Beverly Hills. What a funny thing. We can tell all our friends, we caught a mouse and we brought it to Beverly Hills. And the good thing, Beverly Hills was many, many miles away. So the mouse wouldn't be able to find its way back. The only way the mouse could come back is if he took a bus. And how would a mouse come up with bus fare? We took the cage and the mouse, got in the car, and drove to Beverly Hills. We found a small park that we thought would be a good home for our mouse. And I was feeling good. I hadn't killed the mouse was still alive, and the mouse was going to lead a happy life in Beverly Hills. Along with his fellow mice. His fellow rich mice, I guess. So feeling all warm and fuzzy, I took the cage out, I put it on the ground, and I opened the door. The mouse looked around, looking for some place to hide, and in a flash, he ran up my pants leg. I let out a shriek. The first thing I did is grab my pants leg because I didn't want him to go any higher. And there I was, holding my leg, jumping up and down, and screaming. And during this whole episode, Sharon was of absolutely no use. She was laughing so hard she could barely stand up. After a while, which seemed like a long time to me, but was probably only a few seconds, the mouse realized he had climbed up the leg of a crazy man. He ran down my leg and ran away. And the only thing I could think of as the mouse was running away was, after all I've done for you, what an ungrateful mouse.
Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence, please? Our next contestant is Alex Sakea. One easy payment. One easy payment. Alex Sakea.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. I think there must have been some sort of misunderstanding because I'm not here to give a humorous speech. I actually work for Toastmasters International, and I was flown out here to show you a few revolutionary products that Toastmasters is working on. Do you want to see them?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Toastmasters International feels that there is just entirely not enough clapping going on at these meetings. Did you know that we only spend 85% of every meeting clapping? I know. There's a whole 15% more we could be clapping. So Toastmasters has created the Toastmaster clapping gloves. These babies are built for clapping, that's right.
Yay!
You can clap in these all day. They recommend you do. You can take them out to lunch if a friend orders a salad and gestures that the dressing should be on the side. That's speaking to inform, am I right? Yeah. These babies are one easy payment of $19.95. Next up is a very, very exciting product. It's called the Volumizer. Now, some of you might have seen this a couple of weeks ago. You might have seen a prototype of this. This is a new and improved version. I'll show you how it works. If a speaker is lacking vocal variety, you can simply point it right at them. Don't worry, it's not on. And you can raise or lower their volume. It's amazing. Now, it's not just for presentations. You can actually take it home and use it to raise or lower the volume of a spouse or a loved one. Fantastic product. You can see that it has a very Apple-like design, and because it was inspired by Apple, this little guy will cost you one easy payment of one arm and one leg. Next up is a product for brand new speakers. Sometimes new speakers have a hard time receiving critical feedback. You know, you're insecure about your first few speeches. It's hard to receive feedback. So Toastmasters has created a new product called Feedback Be Gone. This is how it works. Whenever someone starts giving you feedback, you can simply pull out Feedback Be Gone and you stick it into your ears. When they're done giving you feedback, you simply pull them out. By the way, these are also great to take home and use with a spouse. This guy is one easy payment of $19.95 for the orange one, and the green one is free. Next up, we have a really groundbreaking product. It's called the Eliminator. This is what it looks like. Eliminator. What does the Eliminator do? It eliminates your us. And I'll show you how it works. You simply just hook this on like so. Okay. And the Eliminator can sense when you're about to use a filler word, and it gives you just a slight little nudge. One disclaimer, the Eliminator uses just a teeny tiny amount of electrical current that will shoot straight into your heart. But don't worry, it's totally safe. It's been tested by a doctor. I have his card right here, Dr. K. Vorkian. He said that this product is a killer product. Really, really nice. This guy is one very complicated payment of $19.95. Next up is a product specific to competitions. Sometimes in competitions, the judges are dispersed all over the room. The contestants don't know where the judges are. So Toastmasters thought that was a little unfair, and they created the Judge Finder. This little guy show you how it works. You simply just slip your foot in like so, and it's voice activated. Find judge. Okay. So it just starts pointing to the nearest judge. Oh. Well, hello there. Check's in the mail. No, seriously, I sent you a check. The judge finder is one easy payment, but it's for $700 billion. Last but not least is a product that can truly make you a fantastic Toastmaster. Show it to you now. It's called the Toastmaster 1000. Toastmaster 1000. This product is an absolute necessity. Did you know that 20% of aspiring chefs mistakenly come to Toastmasters meetings? It's true. They think they're going to be working on table toppings and prepared dishes. I even hear they bring their own icebreakers. But this little guy is not just for aspiring chefs. You simply turn it on, and by its mere presence, it can turn you from a soft and fluffy presenter into a crisp and solid communicator. Ironically, without the Toastmaster 1000, you're probably toast. Now, you can get these products separately, or you can get them as one big bundle today for one easy payment of my plane ticket back to headquarters. Who wants a bundle? Who wants a bundle? Come on. Yes, yes, good choice. Mr. Contest Chair.
Yo!
Mr. Tyler, can we have 1 minute of silence? Contestant number 4, Sean Johnson. Miscommunications. Miscommunications, Sean Johnson.
How many of you have ever been misunderstood, taken the wrong way, misinterpreted? It's happened to all of us. But if it's never happened to you, just keep on living, because I promise you, eventually life will present you plenty of opportunities to have your own miscommunication. They come in all shapes and sizes. For your family and your friends, with people from different cultures and backgrounds, and other people and co-workers and business associates. Well, whatever the case, tonight is your lucky night, because I'm going to give you 3 powerful techniques that will transform your life if, and only if, you apply them. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's get started. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Technique number 1. I like to call this the what I hear you saying technique. Let's say you're getting ready to go out to dinner with your mate, and the classic question is posed, do I look fat? You're faced with a dilemma, right? You can say yes and be considered a jerk, or you can say no and be considered a liar. It's a catch-22, right? But what can you do? This is where this technique comes into play, and this is why. Because it appeals to what really matters, the emotions. Do I look fat? What I hear you saying is that you feel uncomfortable. If it makes you feel better, put on something more comfortable. Otherwise, you look just fine. And move on. It works like a charm. While that technique may work like magic with people who are trying to speak to you, what about when you're trying to speak to other people and you come across the barrier? This is where technique 2 comes into play. Let's say you have a language barrier. Picture yourself in a university, a multicultural classroom, and your assignment is to help a foreign exchange student acclimate to their new surroundings. Their English is limited. Let's say on a scale from 1 to 5, they're at a 2. And you're stuck at the introductory level of, where are you from? Well, you've passed the first hurdle, you jumped that hurdle by finding out where they're from. Let's say they're from China. So they speak Chinese. Well, what can you do? I'd like to introduce to you Google Translate. It's an application that allows you to translate multiple languages in a matter of seconds. So you want to ask your friend a more serious question, like, what are some things you like to do? It goes without saying that most Americans don't know how to say hi in Chinese, let alone ask a serious question. So you would hit the button and say, what are some things you like to do? Immediately, you have a full translation of the statement that you made. Pretty remarkable, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Google Translate speaks for itself. By the way, if you're online and you use like Facebook or any social networking, if you use this correctly, you can look like a linguistic genius. You can put that one in your back pocket. The last technique, technique number 3. This has to be the most challenging yet the most effective technique. It's called the thorough parrot technique, or TPT. What does a parrot do? It repeats back what's said to it, right? It goes like this. Your boss asks you to do a particular task, and you repeat back the statement in its original format. Then you repeat the statement again in your own format. Then you repeat it a third time in the original format. A little tedious and annoying, but it will reduce the likelihood of a miscommunication by 99%. I was at a point in my life where I needed a vehicle, and I'm coming out of the grocery store on a bright and sunny day, and I look in the parking lot and I see a truck, and it has for sale written on the back with a number. In my desperation, I make the call. Hi, I'm inquiring about the truck you have for sale. I'd like to know the model, the make, and how much you're asking. Oh, with the model, the make? I'm asking 15. I'll take 9, and I'll go as low as 5. Wait, you think I can get a test drive? Sure. Where do you want to meet? Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Click. Wow, this is nice. Man, I'll take it. Oh, the only thing is, I don't have the money right now, but you think you could hold it till the 20th, and then I'll pay you then? I'll do that for you. Man, thanks, I appreciate it. 19 days later. Bring. Hey Andy, it's Sean. I'm ready for you. Hey Sean. Hey, me and the wife will fill her up with gas and we'll be there shortly. See you soon. Click. They arrive at my house. I got the check in this hand. He's got the title in his hand. We meet at the truck. We're talking over the dashboard, or the hood. And he says, hey, I noticed the check in your hand. It says 500. It's 5,000. Oh. So we shake hands and we part ways. Needless to say, had I used the TPT technique, that would have never happened. So whether you are trying to prevent an argument, if you're trying to translate a language, or if you're trying to strike a win-win business deal, I've just given you 3 powerful techniques that if you apply them, they'll not only significantly reduce the likelihood of a miscommunication, but they'll hopefully eliminate it. Thank you.
Can we have 1 minute on the clock, please? The Chief Judge has all the ballots.
Sorry.
Mr. Chief Judge, do you have all the ballots and the
Mr. Chief
binder
Judge,
sheets?
do you have all the ballots?
I got them now.
Okay.
Do you have the timer reports?
Yes.
All right. Alex, where are you? Come on up.
Yo!
I'd like to present you with an a certificate of participation.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, before you run off, you have just returned from California. Not for Toastmasters, but for Toastmasters. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing in California. If you can follow what I just said.
I was living in Colorado.
Colorado! You're going to have a talk with this chief judge, or the Mr. Armbruster over here. I don't think that he's got it all straight.
Do you want to hear about Colorado?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. What do you want to know about Colorado?
Anything that Larry McMurtry has told us, you can tell us about that.
Everything that what? That Bert has.
Larry McMurtry.
I don't know who that is.
Lonesome
I
Dove.
feel like I'm getting
Who
punked.
knows Larry McMurtry?
I don't know him that well, but I've read his books.
Yes. No, tell us about Colorado, and I'll stop being white paper.
Colorado is a state in the United States of America. No, I lived in Boulder for a couple of years, and it's very beautiful. Has anybody been to Boulder, Colorado? Yes. Hiking up the trails? Yes. So you guys already know. Next topic.
Well, thank you so much for coming here, and I know that you want to have some grand aspirations, so I hope you're.
Thank you.
Continue.
Alex,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
how did you get the inspiration for your speech?
Yes.
Great question. I watched about 2 hours of infomercials. The original idea I had was to do intangible, to try to come up here and sell intangible products. Like, here's a bag of really good ideas I've had, and here's a box of really good karma that I built up, saved a lot of puppies for this karma stuff. And then I thought I want to relate it to something about Toastmasters, so that's how I arrived at that.
Great.
Yay!
Question.
One more. Was this part of a deliberate, the way you were leaning on the box, a deliberate gesture that you, or was that just a habit that you did? Was that a deliberate choice? Because you're leaning on the box like this consistently.
I didn't even notice that.
You were like this.
Yeah.
Good.
That's just
You
a
had your
habit.
fingers,
Your legs crossed.
you had your fingers on the box, on the edge,
Like that?
like this.
Yeah.
I like the way you flip
That,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I added that little thing though.
That was good.
Yeah, that was just a habit. So I have to watch the tape now and see all my bad habits.
No, it was good. You look very much like a pitchman doing that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was very
good. Oh, great. Must have been all the hours of infomercials.
Yeah.
Just blended in there.
Alex, if we could only let you have one of those products.
Definitely the Toastmaster clapping gloves are nice. Sometimes an hour or so into a meeting, it's like, okay, my hand's gonna hold up here. Great, thank you so much.
You bet.
Yes, yes. Yo!
First off, thank you for participating.
Yo!
Just a little bit about this new venture that you're have going on in town or out of town called the Cambridge Tech Masters.
Yes, thank you. I work at Cambridge Investment Research here in Fairfield, for those who aren't familiar with it. It's a privately held financial services company. We have about 500 employees here in the home office. And recently we started our own Toastmasters Club. And it's been going for, I think we've had 4 meetings so far. And we've been talking about this for a while. And our intent was to have it only in the computer department. We had some specific goals of fostering communication between people in the computer department, and we have a lot of international employees, and we wanted to help them to be able to communicate better. And we started this club, and initially we thought we were wondering if we'd be able to get enough people from the computer department to be in it, because you need a minimum of 20 people to start a club. And we had 29, I think we have 29 people so far in the club. We're very excited for that. there's a lot of enthusiasm there. We set up, because we're all techies, we set up an online spreadsheet where you can sign up for all the roles. And we started about a month ago, and all the roles through the end of the year are filled. And so it's a lot of enthusiasm, and I want to thank Gene and Tom and Seth and Bert and whoever I missed from the Golden Speakers Club, who have been very encouraging and have come out and been our mentors. And so at least one person from the Fairfield Golden Speakers Club has been there at every meeting.
Rick, can you tell us what the difference is between an introvert and an extrovert nerd?
You probably have heard this, but computer programmers have a reputation for being kind of quiet and inward, and I may have told this already, but the way to tell a difference between an extroverted programmer and an introverted programmer is the extroverted programmer looks down at your shoes when he talks to you. By the way, I have to credit this joke to John Lauros. He told it to me about 5 years ago. The first time I told it, I didn't credit John, so he deserves the credit.
Go!
I would like to say that because you started out in such a nerdy thing, that you need to talk to Mr. Johnson about this translation thing. That way we can talk with you.
Good.
Good job. Thank you.
Yo.
Speaking of John, come on. Woo! First off, good certificate of participation from it. And good to have you. Good to be here. Now, I know a little bit about you, but not an awful lot. What I do know is that he's from the Burlington Club. That's my club. See you.
Oh, Lord help me.
And you've been here for, well, quite a couple of years now.
No, since October last year, right?
October of last year, okay. Anyway, it's been fun. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what brought you to Toastmasters?
I like to inspire people. I like to encourage people, and I would like to be a better communicator. That's pretty much why I'm here.
And a little bit about your background. Where, I know that you work in a number of different places around Burlington, one of which is the Lens Shield. But I get lost on all the rest of the things that you've got going on. There are so many.
Well, recently I've gotten a position teaching special ed students. That's what I went to school for. I went to college for education. And I work with level 3 BD students. So it's kind of like when they walk in the room, they're throwing bags, cussing at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's kind of the environment that I'm in. That's where I start my day at. And it excites me. Every day is different, every day is new, it's never the same. And I've embraced the challenge. It's pretty much where I'm at right now. I could go on and on with what I do. There's a lot of things that I'm involved in.
Looking forward to hearing about it.
All right.
Thanks much. Rick, where are you? I'm over here. Participation certificate. Now, we talked to you a little bit about before, but a little bit more about what you learned from being in Toastmasters, in addition to what you've talked about before.
What I've learned about being in Toastmasters is I really like to appreciate people, and I want to appreciate somebody tonight. And that's O'Grady's cleaner. Because like Rick, I had a mouse problem in my house, and I had those sticky traps. One of the sticky traps ended up in the washing machine. I thought it was paint, I didn't know what it was. Glue all over this particular shirt. I wouldn't have been able to wear it tonight if I had O'Grady's cleaner. It only cost me $20 or so. For $29, well actually it was 3 shirts. But I want to thank O'Grady's Cleaners for making me look presentable tonight. And he said, I'm not going to charge you any extra, and it's a good thing you didn't use any other solvent on it. So I wanted to say that. The other thing I wanted to say is, I didn't feel like I was competing in that area contest tonight. I felt like I was competing in the international contest tonight, which is great.
Yeah.
And Gene,
Where's Jane?
Gene.
And in addition, you told us a little bit about the Conscious Communicators Club and a little bit about what they're doing. But I'd like to ask you one more little thing about that. How specifically can individuals, from this club or from others, get involved not only in what you're doing, but maybe in forming some other prison clubs around the state, if you will?
Okay. Well, there's two words, basically. Betty Kruger. Betty, raise your hand. Betty Kruger. Betty can, so two questions. One is if you want to go down there, someone else asked me about going down there as well. There is a volunteer orientation that you need to go through because you need to be a little prepared and they need to know that you're prepared and know what's going on. So you go down there sometime, you just got to book out a section of the week, hour down, spend about an hour back, so you just have to do that. And then you're vetted and you are now able to go. And Betty, every Tuesday, she sends in a list that says, who asks, can we bring these people? And usually we get an answer back, yes. Your background is checked. If you are an axe murderer, you're probably not going to get in. We already got those, thank you very much. But then you're free to come down. And so basically, without a lot of information, that would be talk to Betty, express an interest in checking out being a volunteer. You don't have to go every time. You don't even have to go a lot. Anything. You can just, but it's actually just like I say, it's a woo experience. The second thing is if you want to start a prison club, well, don't go out and do something stupid so that you end up in prison. Right. That might be actually a good way to get, because there are experienced Toastmasters at other prisons now. There's some negotiation going on who've moved, and they've been in Toastmasters and they want it at their facility. So that's one way it pops up. I don't know if you just have an idea about a prison or a incarceration facility in your area. It basically takes someone who's willing to be a volunteer and go. Because like I said, they can't meet without having outside people. So if you think it's a good idea, you got to be prepared to put your body into it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
One thing I would like to mention is that Conscious Communicators is the Toastmasters Club, full club, in the maximum security unit of the Illinois State Penitentiary. Iowa State Penitentiary. I live in Illinois, okay. And it's so that you have a very much of a flavor for them. There are two that I know of, gavel clubs, also within the Iowa State prison system. One is in Cherokee. Now that's a hospital more than a prison. But there is the Future Communicators of America Club in the Cherokee facility. And the other one is one that Betty is also familiar with. And they've still got the name of...
Open Minds.
Open Minds. And I love that name for a Toastmasters Club. So, Betty, what I would like to do is ask you to come up and talk a little bit about what you have done over the years in prison club. I want to make this a big prison claim. Okay?
Thank you, Don. Don's been there. Don's taken the training. I would like to encourage every one of you to consider this. Not every one of you will do it. It's not necessarily right for everyone to do it. I started it about the year 2000, something like that. Very shortly after the club had been begun, with the help of the trainers and other people who used to go with us. Sometimes we would have a group in those days of 10 or 12 people who would go there and join the guys and be part of the club. Some of the guys who started that club are still in the club. Some of them have died. Some of them have been transferred to other institutions. Some of them, a few of them, is maximum security, so release doesn't happen often, but a few of them have even been released. It's been, for me, it started out simply as curiosity, I think. And perhaps a touch of, I would like to expand my audience. I started out Toastmasters actually in Las Vegas. I joined a club there when my husband decided to work. My husband was at that time an iron worker. He's now retired. Iron workers build buildings. Oh, am I supposed to stop?
Yeah, time's
No,
up.
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me to talk.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you
I
much,
wasn't used to
Betty.
the light thing.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if you missed that, she's saying you can be released from Toastmasters.
Please talk to me if you're interested.
A couple quick notes that there is an effort underway at
Newton.
Newton prison to start a club there if anybody lives close by and interested. See me, because I'll put you in touch with the right person there. And also Hilltop. Come and see us at the Hilltop. They meet every Wednesday
In Moline.
in Moline at East Moline Correctional Center. Fantastic bunch.
There is also, we could work on possibly getting a club in Mount Pleasant, not far away.
That's right. There's some interest there.
There's some interest there, yes.
Second place in the evaluation contest is an important position because if the first place can't make it, the second place goes. And our next level is the Division E contest held on October 19th. It is a Saturday, and it is at Trinity Lutheran Church, I believe, in Moline, Illinois. I believe it starts at 8:30 in the morning. So we'll get that information to those of you who have to be there, and those who want to be there, see either me or Rhonda. Okay. Second place winner is Jane Symington Craig.
Yo!
And the first place winner, going on, Bert Janowski.
Yo!
Likewise, in the humorous contest, the second place winner has to keep that date open to go in case the first place can't make it. So both contests will lead on further to the state or the district contest, which is going to be November 8th and 9th in Des Moines. Well, you'll get information on that. If not, take a look at www.district19.me, and all the information is there. Second place winner is Bert Janowski.
Yo! You give later. That's okay.
First place winner, Alex, get your behind up there. I hope we all had a good time. I know that Hiram didn't because he was so scared of Mr. Agent Smith that he left. I saw him leave a while back. Please drive careful on the way home.